One sunny day, on Qingwan Peak Mountain, very strange sounds were heard. At that time, a young lad was laboring on that mountain and was told to chop wood. He sat down to take a little break, but suddenly a system popped up in front of him. The system showed the guy that his total amount of chopped firewood was 3.65 million. He wondered, did he have that much already? The system congratulated him on receiving the title of Holy Wood-Chopping Saint. He was originally someone from Earth who became the best teenager on the stream thanks to a talent show. But because of his refusal to submit to the agency, he was kept in the shadows and eventually fell into depression. He changed his clothes at the Tsununan Academy in Yunhuang South and became a teacher of the Rune Seal department. But he thought that after he was reborn and got the system, then he would be able to show his power and live differently. Who knew that the system he got would prove to be useless and on top of that, would have him chopping wood. The guy said he was already a saint at chopping wood, but he still hadn't broken through to the saint's step. But then a holy man came from heaven and shouted an address to Grandmaster Bai. The saint could not control his strength, and to stop he landed on the gathered wood and destroyed the pile. The saint said that the head asked him to inform Baiyu that the examination in the mountain palace had begun, and let Bai go to the front courtyard to choose his disciples. Bai replied that he understood and sent him back. Bai said that, in fact, even if he went, he probably wouldn't have a disciple. Bai changed his mind not to go, for he hadn't eaten barbecue in a long time. He would rather see if the dragon in Kangoo province had gotten fat. At this time, there were a lot of people gathered in the study square. Half of them were just incoming students. The boy said that there were a lot of people who wanted to enter the sword art department. The outer disciple Jiang replied that he was honored. Not only did none of the students sign up for the Rune Seal exam, but instructor Bai didn't show up either. Disciple Jiang shouted that Grandmaster Bai had truly gone beyond the limits. He hadn't accepted any disciples, it had been 10 years. He demands the head to fire him and force him to move from the Chunluan Peak to fix the academy's reputation. The head of the academy, Li Guanji, told him not to forget. Little brother Bai had lost his cultivation and spent 10 years at the peak of the Saint's Step in order to protect the academy. Jiang said that they would never forget to enter the Bai clan into the academy, but his current state is really not suitable. How about this, just remove him as a teacher and let him live at his peak? Jiang replied that younger brother Yang was completely right. Then Bai came and thanked them for their kindness. Jiang told Bai that he was in a good mood, but wasn't it too humiliating to get injured just by catching a snake? Bai replied that the beast had cultivation and was almost killed, but he was able to do everything to survive. A girl in the crowd said that although Bai's cultivation was low, he was still quite humorous. It's an ordinary snake. They can't have cultivation. Immediately, she decided to use her powers and realize. Jiang told Baiyu that he should get medical attention immediately if he was injured. But he has a 5-element cultivation pill, and if Bai also accepted disciples today, he would gladly give it to him. But if Bai couldn't accept a disciple, he would resign. Bai looked at him and just remained silent. But here too he replied that he was too lazy to play these games. He doesn't want students this year, and so he would leave first. Jiang got angry and said that he couldn't leave. Jiang turned to the head and said that Bai had become weary and lazy, and his kingdom low, and based on that, he is not worthy to be a teacher. He asks the head to sort it out and fire him. The others also said that Jiang was right. Little brother Bai was no longer worthy of being a teacher. Headley scratched his beard and turned to his younger brother Bai. Bai waved his hands and replied that it wasn't bad, and he wouldn't have to do anything, and as long as they let him own Kingbluan Peak, he's fine with it and has few worries. Li closed his eyes and answered okay, and then he would announce it to everyone else. The head told everyone that Bai, a teacher in the department, could not accept students and was removed from his teaching position. And then the one girl in the crowd yelled for them to stop, because she wants to learn from him. The voices said he's been at the peak of sainthood for 10 years. He's weaker than a chicken. Bai is just trash. The teacher asked what's going on here, and what does this girl mean? Didn't she understand what they were saying? He has no ability to teach her anything. Being his apprentice turns out to be a servant. Jiang said that he thought she was very talented and had great spiritual roots. As long as she is willing to stay in the sword faculty, he is willing to give her the highest position. The girl grabbed Bai's hand and replied that she had made her decisions. Let teacher Bai accept her. Bai answered her, didn't she hear? Unexpected, of course, but he refuses. How could she drop out of the sword faculty and choose this trash? Bai must be planning to place next to him. They are now acting together to get the top position. But once the time comes, the sword art department will become Bai's backyard, and he will take whatever he wants. Jiang pointed his finger at Baya and said that he was very sneaky, and luckily he's not stupid. Jiang turned to the head and said that, as the saying goes, a melon twisted by force is not sweet. Since this girl has no interest in sword arts, he can't force her to stay. Let her do what she wants to do. Bai asks why she is asking him to be her teacher. As she sees it, he is only at the peak of the saint stage. The girl realized that she was the reincarnation of an immortal, and her life was very difficult. In her past life, she had to be reborn with a memory because her cultivation wasn't successful. She wanted to choose the faculty of sword arts. With her talent and looks, it would be easy to steal most of it, and she didn't expect to find a real master at the last minute. With her vision of an immortal, she wouldn't make a mistake. It was obvious that this snake would soon turn into a dragon, if one were to judge it by the level of human cultivation. Even if she was an immortal in her past life, she wouldn't dare to say that she could tame the snake. Being at the peak of the saint stage managed to subdue that snake. Headley thought for a moment and said that since teacher Jiang was fine with it, then he would announce. Bai yelled for the head to wait a moment. After all, he had something to say to the others. The head said that the teacher was officially transferred from the sword faculty to the rune seal faculty. The head asked Bai, "Isn't his big brother awesome?" Bai replied to congratulate his ass. Jiang caught up with Bai and said that he congratulated him. In 3 months, the printing faculty will make progress. Bai looked at him and asked, "Did he hit his head somewhere? Why is he acting like this?" Bai stopped and told the girl that he didn't know her name. What should her name be? The girl replied that her name was Sue. Bai thought that if he had known, he wouldn't have come. Made trouble for himself for no reason. Bai told the girl that she had a very nice name. Sue smiled and thanked her for the compliment. Sue pondered over the words of the others that they say Bai is important to them, but why are they bullying? With his abilities, he could destroy the academy to the ground, so why does he tolerate it? Bai told Sue that he was now under his leadership, and now they need to clarify some things. First of all, they won't have any lessons. On the rune seal, they are doing self-development. She can come and go as she pleases. He doesn't have to report it. Cultivation resources here are scarce because he doesn't recruit disciples. But don't let her be intimidated. As her teacher, he will not be dismissive of her. She will have all the resources. Bai asked if she had any questions left. Sue immediately replied that there were none, and she understood everything. Bai said that's good. Her master had specially prepared these books for her. The first book is his textbook. Basically, it covers all rune seals, and the arrangement by degree of difficulty. The second book is about practice. The real difficulties are also noted there. Just let them follow the pace of learning, and he will check on her progress from time to time. So let her not be lazy. Sue replied that she would remember the instruction. I heard her and said that the student rooms were over there. Let her choose whichever one she wanted to stay in, and if she needs anything, have her find students from the internal department. They'll organize everything. Sue wondered if it would be too late if she requested a change of faculty. She realized it didn't matter. She just had to endure it. If it was going to be hard, so be it. Bai began to clean the snake, and with his abilities, he cut it into pieces. For a more appetizing flavor, he put it on a stick, and by the powers of fire, began to roast it slowly. Sue was laying out her bed for the night, but the delicious appetizing smell was stupefying her eyes. Opening all the windows from, she almost choked on the dust and saw that Bai was roasting a dragon. To her it was terrifying. After all, dragons are immortal beings. If they get them, they should exalt them. And her teacher just roasted the dragon and ate it. Boo savored that meat like it was the last time he'd ever eaten it, and didn't even look away. Sue realized that she had been a cultivator for several thousand years, but she had never eaten a dragon, and her drool slowly dripped out of her mouth. She slowly approached the master and said she was very hungry and asked if she could have some meat. I turned around at her with meat in her mouth and replied that it wasn't allowed for her. And then she was upset. Sue never thought that she wouldn't be given a piece of meat. If the Daos from her first life found out about it, I told her not to look at him like that. No means no. Sue replied that there was nothing to it. Master is very greedy. I saw her offended and told her to stop. Su turned away and asked, "Did he change his mind?" I pulled the meat out of the stick and told her to lick it. She didn't expect that and thought about the decision. I said the apprentice shouldn't call the master greedy. If she licks it, she will understand why her master likes it. Su blushed and didn't realize how the master was talking about it. Oni picked up that stick and repeated to herself to just lick it. She still dared to lick it and it melted immediately. Su said that this spiritual energy is so rich. Su told the master she couldn't take more. After all, she never thought that such a small piece contained half a year of cultivation. She wouldn't be able to handle the energy of this piece. If she eats more than that, she will simply die. Su bowed to the master and thanked for such a great lesson for her. And she is very happy. I said that once might not be enough. Su replied that this student would remember. Teacher Box Horse has a very specific temperament. The last time some students tried to steal it, they were beaten by it. And this time the two boys decided to try their hand at it and snuck up to the bayou by climbing over a large stone fence. The boy asked his older brother, would two of them be enough? The older one replied not to worry. This time he had prepared himself. Big brother took a powder that was recently researched. It allows you to put class 5 monsters and below to sleep. The older man stopped the younger man and told him to be quiet. At this time, Bai was feeding the horse and asked if he remembered how he had it. Was it small and thin? But now her girl had gotten a great look. Let her keep watch here, for he is going to sleep. The boys were watching him, and seeing him put out the candle at the entrance to the room, Senior said he was gone. Standing in front of the horse, Senior said that she should return to the beast-taming faculty. Su was awake and in her room studying the books given to her by the master himself. Flipping through a few pages, she stopped abruptly and closed it, for she had heard strange noises. Su thought, who dared to come to Qinhuan Peak and behave so brazenly? She stepped in front of the door and thought, why don't they let her teach them a lesson or two? The elder used his potion and poured it on the horse's food to make it fall asleep. They were so cruel they didn't even spare him, and they poured all the solution right into the horse's hay. Su approached them with her magic and asked them who they were, and told them to tell their names. Junior asked Senior why there was another person here. The elder replied that it was a weirdo who had left the sword cult. Senior told Su that it had nothing to do with her. Let her go to her room to sleep. Su replied that as long as she was here, let them not even think of stealing from master. The older one realized they were caught and jumped on her and told her not to take the hard way. His speed was so great that he was ready to crash into her and shut her up. Elder raised his hand at her and told her not to blame him for it. Su realized that she wouldn't give up so easily, so she had to dodge the attack and kicked. Spreading her legs 90 degrees, she went straight for the guy's jaw, leaving him no chance. The younger one saw his brother fall and ran to pick him up. The older one replied that he was fine, and she has skills. The older one told the younger one to let him try again. If he can't let him, the guy decided to go the other way, and used his fire abilities to not even leave her a chance. The guy was so confident that he was ready to attack with 2 fingers. But Su was smarter and attacked with her foot. The force was so great that the guy's arm was broken. He shouted that this fire was burning his energy. Junior saw that Senior wasn't doing well and went out into the fray himself to help out a bit. I heard strange sounds outside, so he immediately got up and looked out the window. I decided she could handle it herself and just yawned and headed back to the couch. Su's strength was very powerful, and by inflicting an energy attack, she didn't even give the guy a chance. She looked up at the sky at this moment and saw that a sound isolation rune had been used. Su stepped out of her facet and told them that it seemed Master Bai had no plans to let them go. The boys were so beaten and exhausted that he was afraid to say that he shouldn't do it. This information reached the senior department of beast taming. He was so angry at them that he even slammed his fist on the table. He told the guys that this was too much. The guys told him that they had done all they could. That girl was too strong. Junior told he not to worry. As soon as they recovered, they would bring Wu Rui back. He decided and said that everyone would get 3 spirit recovery pills and 2 energy pills. Let them see it as compensation for their injuries. They took them and thanked them for their mercy. He got angry and told them to fix it quickly, and he would do it for them. He ordered the beast taming department to have everyone arrive at Qinhuan Peak. He will get justice. But then a disciple ran up and told his older brother to stop. He was very surprised at this approach. The guy said it's their fault this time, If they go there directly, they will make a big mistake. Should they just leave it alone and walk away? The guy said that's not what he meant. His student blatantly violated the academy's rules by beating them up. They just have to be above it. Having dealt with these two children, Bai probably has no regrets. At this time, they can demand Wu Rue. He has to take care of his student, so there's no way he's going to say no. He replied that it was a good plan. They will act on it. The Bai opened its doors as if nothing had happened, and regarded around the grounds. But then Su came in the morning and wished Bai good morning. But she was very sleepy because she had been fighting all night. Bai said she's awake. How did she like the book? And then she immediately became agitated and began to blush. She read the book all night, but immediately after reading half the pages her spiritual energy was exhausted. She couldn't even understand half the pages. Bai said she would get what she wanted, he wouldn't do anything for her. Su understood that the cultivation book the master gave was definitely great, but she understood absolutely nothing. Su made up her mind and replied that she had read half of the pages, and at that moment, Bai stopped his axe. Bai was surprised at her words and asked, "Did she say she read half the book in one night?" Su realized her mistake and apologized to the master, for she had disappointed him. Bai told her that she misunderstood. He's not disappointed. He thought she would only be able to read a few chapters. Su replied that her master had said that he thought she was stupid. Bai waved his finger and said that he wasn't. He was just pleasantly surprised by it. This book is a collection of his runes and seals. He didn't think she'd read half the pages in one night. Bai threw her something and said that even though knowledge of runes and seals was essential, let her not be happy. With this token, she can enter the academy library to read books, as well as she can borrow other scrolls. When the token's access level increases, she has the ability to go higher and take better scrolls. Su got curious and asked what she had to do to increase her access level. Bai replied that she needed to fulfill the academy building in the outside world, as well as participate in the student's trial. But assignments come up quite rarely. Su said she understood, and thanked her for the explanation. Su thought that this token compared to the master's book was just a huge plus for her. After all, she's been immortal for at least tens of thousands of years, and for her it's a thrill, and so she has no shortage of any spiritual scrolls. To her, it just turns out to be garbage. The secret given by the master is enough to learn for a lifetime. Does she need to learn anything else? Su noticed that Bai was looking up at the sky and didn't move. For propriety's sake, she asked, "Is something wrong?" And then a voice appeared and told Su's disciple to come down and take the punishment. Su told the master that it could be the bandits who came to the peak last night. She couldn't help herself, so she's afraid she caused trouble. I smiled and replied that it was fine. Let her leave everything to him. All she has to do is study hard. And don't waste her time. I said they should go and see what was going on. Su saw that she was safe and agreed to go. There were already people on the other side of the portal waiting for them. They were ready to punish her to the fullest. Song Lang Hall of Justice said that the hall received a report that Su is a rune seal disciple. You disregarded the rules of the academy and intentionally harmed your comrades. Have them abide by the rules of the academy and pass it on to Su. I smiled and said that they had an amazing show. Zhao from the Hall of Justice said the same thing, that the evidence is accurate. Let Miss Su go with them. I said for them to take their time. The one hiding behind. He wants to know about the two apprentices from beast taming who had infiltrated Qinhuan Peak at night to cause trouble. How did they take care of them? He said that they had just accidentally entered Qinhuan Peak. They had already punished them themselves. I smiled and asked, "Accidentally?" Then his student accidentally hurt them. He can handle it himself. No point in dragging the Hall of Justice into it. And immediately they turned toward the portal. He shouted at them to stop. The Hall of Justice found his student guilty. I immediately got angry and looked at him sternly asking. He couldn't help himself and lost his temper. Turning to his older brothers, he asked, "They saw it, didn't they? This Bai is willingly covering for a criminal. Please take Su away." Two guards came down and said that those who opposed the Hall of Justice never ended well. Does Teacher Bai know about this? They asked. Bai replied that they were just two brothers from the Hall of Justice. How dare he belittle the hall? Today they will take him and his student to the Hall of Justice. He shouted to his older brother and said they were off. and in a moment of attack they took off their weapons. He was rejoicing at this time and wondered if Bai thought he was still the same as he was 10 years ago. This trash in such a low sphere dares to stand up to men of the evil of justice? He really doesn't care about his life. And then he says goodbye to her forever, for the last time. Bai told Su to take it as a test. Let her show what she studied last night. He hopes she won't disappoint him. And then Su pulled herself together and replied that she understood. The audience came very close to her and were telling her to die. She was ready to fight them without fear. Reflecting their strike, Su asked, and that was all of them? They couldn't resist her and missed every time. Su couldn't damage them yet, and seeing their weapons she realized that it was no wonder Bai wanted to test her. These two are so weak that they are not worth the master's time. And then she decided it was time to attack in return. From the outside, thought Su, it looked as if as long as she kept close to the master, she can ascend in the blink of an eye and take down those two upstarts in a heartbeat. One of the boys stopped and wondered what Su was doing. Is she really drawing runes? Even a rune seal master has to draw a seal beforehand, but she draws them in the middle of a battle? And the guys realized she was looking down on them. The guy yelled to his younger brother that it was time to use it. Su just walked around this field like a free girl. Their attacks were not effective for her. The guy told Bart that they need to join forces to stop her. Su replied that there are so many of them that are preventing her from finishing the runes. They joined their forces together, and with a single attack, they told her to go to the deep hell. Su showed them 2 fingers before her attack and said they were just a single piece of trash. This rune she raised very high above her head to match against their spruce attack. Their attacks collided and formed a large explosion in the area. The force was so great that the hall took a knee and watched. One of the guys asked, "Did it work?" And then before their eyes, an unharmed Su stood looking at them. Su used her rune and told them that it was time to get a little more serious. She immediately released 2 bombs on them from afar and watched them pee themselves with fear. Bai saw and realized that it was an attribute of thunder. For now, he couldn't give her anything related to it, and it looks like he'll have to go to the Kangwu Abyss to find the thing with the thunder attribute for her. The guys asked Junior if he was going to make his move. They came here for him. The guy thought to himself, that bastard Song Lang, why did he call him out right now? Both of them couldn't beat her. How would he be able to? Su felt that this guy should also respond like the others and unleashed an attack at him as well. The guy fell to his knees with helplessness and thought, why did that damn broad throw a rune at him? Su said she was aiming at Song Lung. She made a little mistake, didn't she? It was an accident. I decided that this had to end and told Su to stand still. He would go forward on his own. The injured guy said it was a serious provocation. They disregarded their student's offense and fought with the audience. And the Hall of Justice won't let them leave. They'll regret it. Bai asked, regret? Bai said that the ones who should regret it are the 3 of them, aren't they? Guy asked what they were going to do. Bai immediately decided to use his powers, and pointing his finger at the ground told them to kneel down. The guys immediately felt a lot of pressure, and without resisting fell to their knees in front of him. The guy said it was impossible. How could someone in the sphere of rotating light possess such overwhelming chi? The guy said to only Bai not to say that he had already recovered. Bai replied, so they don't worry. The guy said that Bai hadn't recovered. The academy instructors will be able to take spiritual chi from lung foam. The guy showed his badge and asked, is Senior here? Why now? And then blood came out of his mouth. Bai said goodbye, saving his face, Senior Tuesday. And what about this upstart? Bai asked. Bai decided to let him go and told him to come to him in person if he has anything to say. Instructor Chung said he heard that the guy had been waiting for him for hours. The guy replied to the instructor that this is the situation. Chung asked, is he still kneeling on Qingwan Peak? The guy immediately replied that that was correct. He's still in this place. Chung said they could both go back to the Hall of Justice. He will personally handle the case. The guy thought that even if Bai had support, he definitely wouldn't be the opponent of someone who was at the exit stage. Chung told Ian that tomorrow night he would go with him to Qinglian Peak and bring his older brother back. Bai was eating and saw that a whole day had passed and no one had come to see him. After finishing his food, he walked into the backyard and watched Su practicing his ruin technique. Bai decided to test her for speed and fired the wood at her. Su sensed it and abruptly turned around and broke them apart. Bai said calmly while moving, not bad. Su was happy to see the master. Bai told Su that he needed to leave. If anyone from the beast taming department comes, have them use this seal. Su told the master not to worry. She would never let others come to cause him trouble. I told her to keep an eye on the place. He'd be back in the morning as early as possible. Kangwu Abyss is the residence of the Yunhuang demon race. The deeper one goes into it, the higher will be the domain of the demon race. In the deepest places of all places, there are 12 ancestral demons, which are avoided even by those in the Mahayana stage. With Su's current cultivation, he didn't think she would be able to use items made of demon ancestor materials. He should further search for the materials of the Demon King's lightning attribute to make her satisfied. I saw a girl running in the forest. He thought, isn't she a student of the academy? The girl ran as hard as she could, for attacks were flying at her. She was afraid that she would die here today. I saw the explosion and realized that trouble was still happening. So he used the rune and told them to let him go through first. The villain laughed at her and asked, she had nothing left, right? The girl tried to use the shard. The villain told her not to run away anymore. She has nothing to lose by playing with him. The girl pulled herself together and told him to only dream about it in his dreams. Isn't the 4th art faculty the academy's female nursery? Let her be a good girl and serve him. Then he'll think about letting her go. The girl said her name was Yoon, and she wouldn't let him touch her, even at the cost of her own life. The villain immediately jumped on top of her with his huge hands and sealed her to the ground. Yoon immediately realized that her power had been stolen. The villain looked at her and said her face was so pretty. Other places must be exactly the same. Yoon realized that she was destined to be defiled by this evil bastard. Bai applied his strength and shouted for her to strike at the chi point. Just then, Yoon realized that she could move. The villain sensed something and didn't understand why he couldn't move. Yoon was not confused and attacked at the chi point. The blow was so strong that the villain couldn't handle it and flew several meters backwards. The villain's body was very shabby. He couldn't believe it. The girl had overpowered him. The servant immediately ran up to the villain, calling him boss, because he saw that he was in a bad way. Yoon bowed with a smile and thanked the elder for being such a great help. I saw this and thought, does she worship the air? Are all the students raised by Elder Yu so stupid? The boss's servant lost his temper and called the girl names, and started threatening her that she would pay for it. Yoon gained confidence and told him to approach if he was so bold, but she realized that she didn't have much chi there. The servant told her not to pretend. He knows she spent almost all of her chi on that punch. Now let her die. Yoon asked the elder what should she do. Bai replied for her to take a step to the left and punch him in the kidney. Yoon stepped to the left and missed. The servant said, did she think she could hit him? The servant launched an attack and told her to go to hell. Yoon didn't hesitate and chose the right moment to attack. She used her magic and imprinted this show-off into fire chains. Bai said for her to kill him. Yoon replied that her sister's whereabouts were related to him. Could she do that when she knew from him where she was? The servant said it was useless to ask. To preserve her innocence, this girl blew up her own sea of chi and escaped. Yoon said he's lying. Big sister is not the kind of person that can lose to them. The servant said that how come her sea chi was destroyed? He thinks she was already eaten by insects. The servant told her to kill him. If she has the courage, they'll see if the sect can let her go afterward. Yoon asked in surprise, what? Someone like him from the formless border sect? I stepped into the light and said, what a forgiveness for bastards like them. I asked, why did the northern formless border sect send him here? The servant asked, how did he end up here? I smiled and asked, is he really that famous? The servant said he was just trash. And at the rotating light stage, it's impossible. Yoon was surprised because the person who was helping her was Bai. Bai said he wasn't going to play detective with him. Let him say it. The servant replied that he wouldn't tell. Bai clamped the tighter chains and said that he had no more business being on this earth. The chains were so tight that they tore this guy into small pieces, even blood flew in different directions. Yoon asked him how should she look for her sister when he killed him. Bai replied that he understands. She is confused right now, but he knows how to find her. Does she have something of her sister's? It would be nice if she wore it. Yoon replied that she had a scarf. Bai used the bird and sent it to find the owner of the handkerchief. Yoon shouted. Then the bird was the best. The bird flew not long and smelled this girl and descended into the rocks. At this time, the girl was thinking that who would have thought that after she escaped. she would immediately fall here. And now that her sea of chi is destroyed, she thinks this pit will be her grave. She raised her hands high and shouted that she hoped Yoon was perfectly safe. Yoon came running to her and said, "Is big sister here?" The girl didn't understand at first and asked. Yoon rejoiced and said that big sister was there. Bai replied that besides that she was in a bad state. Yoon said she would go down there right away. Bai stopped her and said that he would get her. Bai immediately pulled his trump card out of his pocket and raised it above his head. Yoon was surprised to see the talisman. Bai used the power of the talisman as a long rope and lowered it deep into the pit, grabbing the girl. The girl didn't realize at first what were those bubbles, and where were they carrying her. And then they slowly lifted her to the top. Seeing her in the white light, Yoon rejoiced and shouted to her older sister. The girl came down to earth and said she was fine. She's perfectly fine. The girl gave her name as Yoonchi and said that she thanked Senior Bai for saving her. Bai took out her pill and told her to heal herself first. And this was where Yoonchi didn't expect this to happen. Yoonchi asked, "Is this the 5 Yang Elements Cultivation pill?" "And it's a treasure of the Beast Department. It's too expensive for her." Bai replied that now was not the time to be picky about things. Is the pill more important than her life? Besides, he got it for free. Let him just take it. Yoon immediately took it and thanked Big Brother Bai for giving it to them. Yoon with her cute hands put this pill in her sister's mouth and told her to gobble it up. Yoon asked her sister, "Does she feel better?" Yoonchi replied that it was worthy of being called a treasure. Yoonchi told Bai that she would remember his kindness that he showed today. She would repay him. Bai replied that he didn't want her to return the favor. With their power, they shouldn't be here. Bai said for them to answer him, why did they go to the abyss of Kangwoo? They didn't dare to say and just looked at each other. Sue reached out and said that she had finally finished reading this page. And of course she has these feelings that she's about to break through. Gotta go cultivate now. Taking the stone in her hand, she heard something outside and froze for a few moments. Surely someone has come to cause trouble while the owner is away. The few silhouettes in the sky said that Bai had allowed his students to break the rules of the academy. He also put up stiff resistance to law enforcement, beating them to a pulp. His name is Chun, vice professor of the beast taming department. Let him come and receive his punishment. Bai listened to them and asked, were they both sick of living? How could they go to a place where there is a demon king? Yoon replied that it was all her fault. She was trying to find materials to repair his master's tool. She got greedy in the moment, and that had led to the current consequences. I realized that there was something wrong in their words. Yoon said that she was chasing a 9th grade silk iceworm from the abyss. I said that they didn't have to. It's only a 9th grade demon. So why would such a sect pursue him? Could she have been wrong about that? The ice silkworm wasn't a big demon, and a demon spirit during the Ling period, or even a demon king who cultivated the human form. Yoon asked the elder Bai, is he going to catch the ice silkworm? Bai replied that was correct. I told them to follow him. He must hurry back before the sun came up. Yoon was saying that Bai was really good to her disciple. Yoonchi told her to shut up. Chun shouted for Baiyu to come out. Just then, the door slowly opened in front of them. Sue came out and said that this is her apology. The master is not here right now. She will convey whatever they want to say to the master. Chun immediately saw her and told her to drop to her knees. Sue said that she didn't do anything wrong. Why should she kneel down? Chun replied that when they see their elders, she should kneel down. Didn't that trash, Bai, teach her the rules of the academy? Sue said she had never heard such a rule. Her master is not trash. Let them be more respectful. Chun said lawlessness. How dare a newly accepted student talk to a deputy instructor? He held out his huge hand with energy and told her to get on her knees. Sue couldn't leave things like this and humiliate herself in front of them, and used her rune against his attack. Sue said that she had done nothing wrong. She won't kneel before them ever. Chun smiled and said that was very good. They would see how long she could keep her mouth closed. Chun didn't let this go unpunished and used even more strength and shouted for her to fall to her knees. Sue realized that it wouldn't be that simple and gave even more energy to disobey them. Chun saw that she was still on her feet and was a little surprised. She was stronger than he thought. Chun realized, in order not to kneel down, she had actually burned her own realm. This disciple is very strange. If information about this became known, he and the Beast Pavilion would definitely lose face. Chun realized that this student couldn't stay alive, so he ordered the guy to go and kill her. The boy asked the master, "Is this the right thing to do?" Chun replied to kill her if he could, or was he going to disobey orders too? The guy replied that this student would never dare. It's just that this student thinks that little sister didn't do anything worth dying for. Let him talk to her. If the younger sister is willing to admit her wrongdoing, they should let her live. Who knew that a bastard master like him could have such a good disciple? Chun said what he wanted to tell her. If he didn't die today, he would definitely make sure that he would regret it in the future. The guy told Su that his master wants to save face. If she gets on her knees and admits she was wrong, this case will be closed. Don't put your life on the line just to protect your pride. Su replied that she didn't expect a sect with the best reputation in southern Yunhong would hide a scum like his master. The guy asked Su why she should think about it. Su replied that there was no need to say such a thing. If his master wants to kill her, let him kill her. She will never ask for mercy. The boy said he couldn't disobey his master's orders. May she forgive him then. The one who asked for forgiveness was him. It should have been his master bastard, said Su. At the moment of the attack, the obedient horse came running and crashed into the guy with all his strength. Chun saw this and realized that it was no wonder he was possessed by him. As a demon spirit, the horse turned into a huge and evil beast and decided to stand up for the girl. Chun said that if he hadn't shown up, he wouldn't have even thought of him. But since she's jumping above her head, she shouldn't blame him. He immediately launched an attack on the horse and ordered it to behave. The horse wasn't that strong and missed the moment. Chun took complete control of her and led the way. Su docked for Xiao Wu to run away. The horse saw that it wasn't that simple and jumped out on his 2 legs and pounced on him. Chun lost his temper and with an attack, he shouted for the evil beast, "Die!" The organ inside the horse burst from such a strong blow. She couldn't resist him, and such a strong attack simply tore her body to pieces. Su cried and called Chun an old snarky man. She said he'd better kill her today, otherwise she would survive and come back and make him pay for it. Immediately, an energy appeared from somewhere and burst forth. Chun came to her and told her that he had heard her and would fulfill her wish completely. And then Su saw that this was the distance she needed, so she decided to take advantage of it. Su understood that the distance the moon fairy wheel would definitely reach. Su said he burned her treasure, so she could use that move to destroy him downstairs. She didn't feel sorry for him, and with her immense and reckless strength, just walked through him. Chun wasn't even killed, he had prepared for it beforehand. If he hadn't taken the treasure with him to protect himself so she can fight these 2 scum alone, she has a trump card up her sleeves. Su realized that her spiritual power was depleted. Just then, Chun used his rope and grabbed her. Chun decided to squeeze everything out of her, and with a motion of his hand he pulled her towards him and grabbed the girl by the throat. Su tried her best to say that her master would make him pay for it. Chun said that he had long ago decided to kill him along with her. That trash had never meant anything in his eyes. Xiao came to her senses a little and tried to help her, but she didn't have the strength anymore. Su told her to stay back. Chun said he would kill them first and then catch him and torture him slowly. And then Su remembered what Bai had told her and handed her the talisman she was supposed to use. Chun said, "Now that it's gotten to this point, what is this paper anyway?" And then this paper started to glow. A portal appeared in front of him and began to pull Chun inside. He didn't understand what it was, and then a protector appeared in front of her and attacked that old man and saved the girl. Chun was hurt and said it was absurd. Why things are going his way like this? He can't understand it. The chicken went at it and immediately gobbled it up whole, and afterward was very happy to have such a meal. She was so strong that she blew herself up along with this old man and left him dead. Just then a guy came in and asked the master, "Is he okay?" But Chun was completely shaken up and lay unmoving. The guy lifted his master to his feet and dragged. Chun said he wouldn't let him get away with this. Let him give him the pills. He immediately gobbled them up and said he refused to believe that an instructor like him couldn't teach this girl a lesson. Chun attacked the girl screaming that he was gonna kill her, and then Su realized that this was the end. She couldn't escape. Su opened her small eyes and wondered why he didn't attack. Just then, some person appeared in front of her. Su immediately thought it was his master. I didn't take long now and grabbed Chen's hand. Chun was startled and surprised that it was his enemy who had arrived here. Su tried to address the master. I told her to keep quiet. Her heart was seriously damaged, and he would fix it now. Bai said Chun took advantage of his absence to bully his student. Is this what the vice instructor of the animal domestication faculty's morals are worth? Bai stuck it in the ground and said it was at the level of the output aperture. Even among all the academy instructors, he is ranked 5th, Chun said. Then why can't he defeat some light-level trash? The boy yelled at Uncle by asking him to stop. Tell him to stop beating him, Bai said with a decree, a golden bell. Immediately, he released his second power, which grabbed the guy. Chun felt that this savage was treating him, but at the same time continued to beat him up. How humiliating is this? Bai lifted his head up and looked at him. The boy was frightened when he saw that. Bai said that the two of them should be grateful to Li Guan. If it wasn't for him, they would be dead by now. Let the guy get his master and get off Qingyuan Peak. Chan again told the guy to give him the 5-element pill. The guy told him to eat slowly. Chun gobbled it up and filled his body's maximum recovery. He only had an advantage because he took him by surprise, and now he must be avenged. Su apologized to the master and said that she failed to properly protect Qingyuan Peak. Even Xiao got hurt protecting her. Bai told her to stop. He will begin the restoration of her heart meridian. It will hurt a little, but she will let it endure. Chun started to transform and told Yin to watch closely, and he turned into a huge bird. Chun said that it was a new garment from the storage ring. This is his master's perfect form. It's an 8th level demon as well as its strongest beast protector, and now they would see how Bai would defend against it. Bai saw everything and immediately used his belt ball. And then it was different. The balloon attacked with its electricity and the eagle was left without feathers. Chun shouted to the beast to come back, but the beast just flew away, not even turning around. And then the girls came and shouted to Baiyu that they were here. What the hell happened here? Bai said that for years, he tried not to leave Qingyuan Peak and provoke the others. He did everything he could to take it away from him. And now he's trying to kill his student. Chun got scared and said, bloody mascot. Has Bai really lost his mind? Why is he doing such a thing? Chun ran away and realized that this talisman was capable of turning a person into a pool of blood, destroying even his soul. Bai didn't let him go unpunished and chased after him. Chun repeated that he couldn't die. Bai immediately punched him in the head and sent him back into the ground. The force was so great that he fell like a bomb. Chun said that they are both instructors at the academy. For using the blood talisman against him, divine punishment? He would be his divine punishment, and immediately sent that blood on him. Chun shouted at him to stay away from him. Su said that the moment Su activated her talisman, he realized that she was in danger. The blood had taken over Chun completely, and didn't even leave a single bone of him, but his clothes lay in place. Yunchi saw that all that was left of him was his clothes. What a cruel, bloody curse. The boy fell on his knees in front of him and cried. Bai said he didn't want to do it, but he forced him. The boy was telling Bai to wait. Bai decided to take pity on him and released him from his charms. Bai said that he was not like his master. Let that be a lesson to him. You shouldn't nibble on what belongs to others. Next time he looks for a teacher, let him look for someone more worthy. Don't let him tell anyone about what happened today. And yes, let him take his big brother with him. The boy bowed and thanked Baya. He would definitely take this lesson to heart. Yun told her sister that they had to go. They couldn't interfere with this couple, and turned around. Yunchi told Bai that they would go too, and thanked him for his help. And soon they would pay him back anyway. They can come and visit, and tell them to say hello to their master. Su understood and saw that these two girls wouldn't exactly be looking in on them after something like this. Bai said he had to change his clothes. Blood magic looked above them from the sky. Bai saw this and looked back, and immediately, a bloody cloud began to spread in all directions. Su asked the master, did he see something in the sky? Bai replied that there was nothing like that. Bai immediately realized that with the help of this creature, someone was watching them. And it's not that simple. The old man said to Bai, how dare he kill his nephew? There wasn't even a body left of him. The old man said that since he cared so much about his disciple, the guy knew what he had to do in the test. The guy bowed and replied that he understood. Supreme Elder. This guy's name was Tu, from the punishment hall. Tu said that the punishment hall has already finished all the necessary preparations, and is ready to use them. Bai told Su that he had brought something for her. Immediately, A monster that was bigger than her appeared in front of her. Bai said that he caught this snow cicada especially for her. However, it is still in larval form. He had originally wanted to find the right catalyst by which she could gain a new level, but he got lucky and came across her instead. So he decided to bring it to her. Su saw that this snow cicada larva was at the Spirit King level, but at the same time, in the presence of a master, she behaves so obediently. Bai said that she has the attribute of water and thunder. If she managed to get a contract with her, it would play a big role in her future cultivation. Su understood that Spirit King are majestic mountain creatures. In her past life, Su decided to go to the master and rushed over and hugged him and thanked him for such a gift. Bai said that the Academy's great trial was just around the corner. Let him use this opportunity to recover his cultivation. Su replied to the master not to worry. He would never be disappointed in her. Bai said that he shouldn't force himself. He was sure she could easily pass the upcoming test, especially if she has that cutie with her. Su asked, "Is that allowed?" Bai told her not to worry. He could suppress the snow cicada's cultivation level to the point where it would be missed. Su asked, "This creature definitely agrees to have its cultivation level suppressed?" Bai replied that he would help her this time. But since it was her first time, it might hurt a little. Bai used his powers to their full potential and began to reduce the cicada to the tiniest state. Su thought, wasn't Bai going to suppress her cultivation level? Then why was it only increasing? Bai did everything right and said she was completely ready. But even then, she slowly began to reveal herself. And then a girl came out of it and said that she welcomed Mrs. Su. She's Ashlin's spirit, but Su can call her a little dream, and she really hopes they can become friends. Su immediately saw her as a very cute girl. Ashlyn walked over and addressed her. Su said that she thought the creatures and spirit tribes would look like some kind of monsters with sharp fangs. Ashlyn told her. Did she mean to say that she had encountered other king-level spirits before? And then Su realized that she had accidentally blurted it out and said that she had seen the image in the books. Su was glad that the master didn't hear that. Bai asked, so why couldn't he analyze it? And then Bai said that in that case, Ashlyn, he was leaving Su to her. Immediately, she agreed and was a little relieved. Bai said it was getting pretty late, he thought they should get some rest. Ashlyn wished him sweet dreams. Bai decided to feed the horse and was saying that it looked like he was right. The people from the shapeless border sect, pursuing no small dream, they were looking for the jade pendant she was guarding. But even the system couldn't analyze this jade. What the hell is this thing? The system said that it congratulated him on his new mission. If Su succeeds in getting a new level and wins first place, he'll receive a gift. I said it was some kind of miracle. He didn't know it could give assignments. He feels like he's just a chopped wood counter. The counter asked the system, and then Bai noticed something and said there was something wrong with her. The system told Bai to make up his mind and accept the mission. Bai agreed and replied that he accepts. Bai said, however, to him the rewards looked rather useless. He could always give it to Su though. With the help of a little dream, Su should have no problem recovering and getting a new level. Ashlyn was also asleep and realized that unfortunately, it still wasn't enough. She touched Bai and said how much she wanted to see him again. 5 days later, Zhang's team was heading somewhere. The guys said that it looked like someone was cooking. What a delicious aroma. At this time, Bai was tasting his culinary skills and made himself a chef. Zhang asked him, what the hell is he doing here? Bai asked, is Instructor Zhang also interested in the wild creature roasting game? The creature turned to Bai that he had a few minutes to talk about the Lord their savior. Bai said he called it a game, though to be honest, he wasn't quite sure what that strange-looking bird was talking about. Zhang said that Bai was not far from the testing site. What's he doing here anyway? Bai replied that he was just frying his food. Doesn't think anyone is interfering with the test at least. Zhang immediately shouted to the warriors to step back and stand in formation as befitting. Zhang said that it was reckless. Someone like him doesn't deserve the title of instructor. Bai waved his hand at him and said that he knew. The people in town were saying that the animal domestication department was finished. She doesn't know why, but both senior brother He and senior brother Ian suddenly went to cultivate behind closed doors. The girl said he was wrong. Since they're not here, they finally have a chance to shine. Su was there too, and was walking around the academy with her new friend on her head. Feng saw Su and realized that there she was. She's quite talented. It's a shame that she chose to become a cripple's disciple. Feng wished Sister Su a good morning and gave his name and said that he was from the extermination faculty. And then the guy told Feng to watch him win her heart. And with a shout to her, Su turned around and walked away. Su walked over to Bai and hugged him tightly. Bai told her to stop, because he was busy. Did Su tell the master what he was cooking this time? Would he let her try a small piece? That's not going to happen. Even though he wasn't sure what that thing was, it couldn't handle that much chi. How dare he ignore a suave and attractive guy like him? Instructor, you told him that he shouldn't worry about some woman. Envy is only for people who are weak and incapable of doing anything. And then the guys started telling them all to watch. It's the faculty of the 4 arts. The guys all cheered and yelled for the girls to look at him. And she was the one who did it. Yui said hello to Yu's little sister and said, "What a coincidence." She didn't start talking to him and left. Yu went to Bai's and thanked him for saving her students. Bai asked Luna, what is she talking about? Bai said it was an instructor from the faculty of the 4 arts. Su bowed and said that she was Bai's student. Su was angry and thought, what on earth was she doing here? Feng had told Master, didn't he say that only a weak person could experience envy? Yu replied to the guy that it's not envy. In his opinion, does he look like he's jealous? The task elder told everyone to be quiet and look only at him. He said that this time the exam would be held in a secret area. He'll announce the rules now. The time limit is 2 days. Ranking will be determined based on the final number of points. In addition to killing monsters and finding treasure, they can also earn points by stealing tokens from other participants. If they are seen to be intentionally putting another student's life in danger, they will be removed from participation. The elder said that was the end of it and let the trial begin. Immediately a portal opened in front of them. The guy told the extermination faculty members to send in immediately and take the winning points. Su said goodbye to the master and said she was off. Bai waved her off and told her to take care of herself. Su was jealous of her master for this girl and she didn't feel like leaving right now at all. Luna said that she had heard that Bai had accepted her as an apprentice a while ago. Isn't he worried about her at all? Bai replied that she is very hardworking, and that's not counting her talent. Nor is she weaker than the people present. Moreover, she is his student. In the secret area, the guy said that the rune faculty was some kind of joke. Then how come there's such a monster? At this time Su was attacking someone and the guy was telling her to stay away from him out of fright. Su understood why she came and immediately grabbed the badge. Su said that it doesn't work that way, it's too slow. And then she heard that some of the players had already dropped out. And there are fewer and fewer of them left. The beast was patting her head, and Su told her not to do that. There's no one here, she can talk normally. The beast screamed in pain and asked Su, is she trying to crush her? Her master asked her to pretend to be a great spirit. Had she ever met a great spirit that could talk? Su said there was something that way. The beast turned away from her and didn't bother to tell her. Su said it didn't matter, she would go and check it out. But she wasn't sure, but she went anyway. At this time they were being followed and the enemies said she was caught. The old man said to lead him faster. At this time in the academy square in the screen, the guys were watching the whole battle and how the guys were doing. The guy was saying how cruel it was. Junior Fengxiu gave up, but Su still attacked him. The guy said that the head of the rune faculty is a cripple. Why is his student so strong? Was Luna telling Bai that he wasn't afraid his student would incur the wrath of the other faculties with her bold actions? Bai replied, only the weak would worry about what outsiders would think of him, and he who has true power will find confidence in his own strength. Luna replied that indeed, he's still the same Bai he was 10 years ago, the one who held the heavens upon him and watched over this world. Bai laughed and said that Luna was exaggerating. And then the bell rang and people asked what happened to the screen. The head told them to calm down. The boys said they had lost contact with the eyes of the Ancient One. The guy said to Elder Bing, they are recording a huge clash of spiritual chi in the secret area. Bean interrogated him, is that definitely correct? When would they be able to reconnect? The guy replied that they couldn't recover it from this side because the source of the interference was in a classified area. The guys were telling the creation faculty students to head over there for him. Tell them to move faster. It's an emergency. Bai said so they wouldn't blame him for interfering later. At this time, inside the ground, Su was fighting someone and was very good at even holding his own. The girl said the girl was quite talented. It's a shame her life will be cut short long before her potential is realized. Sue asked if they weren't afraid she would report them. The boy replied that her master had insulted someone he shouldn't have. Sue said that she refuses to believe that the Hall of Punishment can do whatever it wants in the academy. The girl told her to just not say she hoped to leave this place alive. Sue realized that anything was possible. His sword had cut her lightning in two, and they attacked her and told her it was time to end it. Sue realized that they were stronger than her. Fighting would only delay the inevitable. But she couldn't escape either. Sue told the little Dream to help her. You can't burn your cultivation again. Dream said it guided her to the treasure, but instead she found trouble on her own head. And then Sue used her ruin technique and was able to attack them with her new assistant. The guy saw that she was in danger and used a sword attack to cut them in half. The Dream said they were no match for her. Let them get the hell out of here if they care about life. The guy said she transformed into a human. It's the Spirit Queen. Dream said the girl is under her protection. If they value their lives. Sue asked why it had gotten so big. Dream replied that it was to intimidate the enemy. Sue asked were they definitely allowed to let them go. Don't you dare order, the Queen said. Dream. She only protects her at the request of his master. Dream said they should go anyway. The treasure is that way. Sue listened to her and said that was just fine. Sue asked Dream what she was doing. Dream asked, what does she think she is doing? She's helping her cultivate. Silly. Who even cultivates like that? Sue asked. The Dream replied that it helps heal her wounds. The medicine the master gave her is only able to stop her wounds. Let her not worry. She would just use her chi lightning that would repair her damaged meridians, and she would feel a little stimulation. Immediately, Sue couldn't help herself and cried out from the pleasurable sensations.